these photos reveal the secrets of history. Shocking moments you've never seen before. Each one will take you on a mind-blowing journey through time. But before we dive in, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more incredible mysteries. Are you ready? Let's begin. Sometimes a single photograph can tell an entire story on behalf of humanity. This moment, captured in the midst of the Cold War, took place at one of history's most tense borders. In 1961, the Berlin Wall had just been built. This wall, which divided families, friends, and lives, was deemed impenetrable. Yet a German soldier defied all orders to help a small child cross beyond the barbed wire. The soldier's identity was never revealed, but this moment was never forgotten throughout history. The 1929 Hebron Massacre was the result of a violent conflict between Jewish and Arab communities in the city of Hebron, Palestine. During the massacre, 67 Jews lost their lives, and many others were injured or forced from their homes. The little girl in the photograph, who had lost her family, was one of the few survivors. Her wounded gaze into the camera stands as a silent witness to the heartbreaking story of that time. This tree had been alive for 2,600 years. This photograph, taken in late 19th century California, captures a massive sequoia tree that had stood as a natural wonder for over 2,600 years. However, during that era, large trees were often harvested for lumber, and this monumental tree met the same fate. At the time, the age and significance of such trees were not fully understood. The photograph serves as a silent testament to how humanity has destroyed immense natural legacies. Once upon a time, in the streets of New York, children's games could surpass even the concrete walls. This photograph reflects the post-war era in New York, capturing the simple yet dangerous games of the time. Climbing rooftops and playing risky games in old buildings were everyday activities back then. Here's a heartwarming snapshot from 1941. This photo captures more than just a circus moment. The man in the picture is Charlie Bell, a clown who performed with the famous Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. Beside him is his adorable dog, Trixie, the star of their acts. The circus culture of the 1940s offered people a brief escape from the shadow of war. This historic photograph captures one of the most poignant moments showcasing the human tragedy of World War II. On the Pacific front of the war, civilians often had to seek refuge in caves to survive. The woman in the photograph hid in this dark cave for weeks to protect her child. The hand extended by the American soldier was not just an act of physical aid, but a message of humanity reborn in the face of the war's devastation. A little girl lost in dreams as she gazes at one of the enchanting shop windows of the 1920s. This photograph captures more than a child's pure imagination. It also reflects the economic transformation of the 1920s. With industrialization booming, urban shop windows were brimming with goods. Window shopping wasn't just about browsing products, it was about imagining a luxury that felt out of reach. Like this little girl, many children shaped their dreams of the future while longing for the toys behind the glass. In the freezing Moscow winter, babies wrapped in blankets are sleeping outside. This image was taken in 1958 in the Soviet Union. Surprising, isn't it? During the Soviet era, it was a common practice to expose babies to cold weather to strengthen their immune systems. It was believed that this method would make children healthier and more resilient. In the early days of the Berlin Wall's construction in 1961, a father throws his child out of a window. Sounds unbelievable, doesn't it? This photograph shows 4-year-old Michael Finder, courageously tossed by his father from East Germany to West Berlin. Firefighters in the West had stretched a net to safely catch the child. As the Berlin Wall began to divide families, dramatic and perilous escapes like this became a heartbreaking reality. This iconic photograph captures John F. Kennedy in an intense strategy meeting with his brother Robert Kennedy during the presidential campaign. John F. Kennedy's bid for the presidency was not just a political battle, but a turning point in American history. Throughout the campaign, Robert served as his closest advisor and most trusted confidant. Let's travel back to 1963, into the home of a president. This photograph was taken during a Halloween celebration with the Kennedy family. The masked figure beside him is none other than his daughter, Caroline Kennedy. At the time, the Kennedy family was seen as a kind of royalty by the American public. These warm, joyful moments were among the last glimpses of happiness before a future overshadowed by tragedy. The towering statues carved into the rugged cliffs of Afghanistan, standing for thousands of years, vanished from history in an instant. How did such monumental 6th-century creations disappear? The Bamiyan Buddhas were among Afghanistan's greatest religious and cultural treasures. Reaching heights of up to 55 meters, these statues were masterpieces of Buddhist art. However, in March 2001, they were destroyed by the Taliban under the orders of Mullah Muhammad Omar, sparking outrage worldwide. A colossal structure that pushed the boundaries of human labor and engineering. Completed in 1935, the Hoover Dam became a symbol of recovery from the Great Depression. This monumental project, involving over 21,000 workers, tamed the mighty Colorado River. But such success came at a steep cost. More than 100 workers lost their lives, and those involved endured extreme heat, grueling workloads, and perilous conditions to bring this vision to life. Snow-covered Berlin welcomed an unusual guest, not an elephant, but a seal. How did this 4,000-pound marine giant become a beloved figure among Berliners? In the 1930s, Roland, a massive elephant seal weighing nearly 2 tons, was one of the star attractions of the Berlin Zoo. To maintain his health, keepers often took Roland out for snow baths during chilly winter days. This enormous seal captured the hearts of visitors and even made headlines in newspapers of the time. Lunchtime at school, but instead of milk or juice on the table, wine. Until 1956, serving wine with lunch in French schools was considered completely normal. This tradition stemmed from the belief that wine was nourishing and healthy. In some schools, specific amounts were even allocated based on the children's ages. However, as the health impacts of alcohol became better understood, this practice was banned, marking a profound shift in children's dietary habits. One of Hollywood's legendary stars, Carrie Fisher, in 1980, sitting in a trash can with a bottle of wine. Best known worldwide as Princess Leia from the Star Wars saga, Fisher's life was marked by a roller coaster of career highs and personal struggles. This iconic snapshot is seen as one of Fisher's cheeky and defiant responses to the media of the time, perfectly capturing her wit and rebellious spirit. Edith Steiner, a survivor of the horrors of the Holocaust, and John Mackay, the Scottish soldier who reached out his hand. In 1944, Edith Steiner managed to survive the Auschwitz concentration camp. John Mackay, a member of the Scottish Commandos, was among those who liberated the camp's prisoners near the end of the war. Meeting during those tumultuous days, Edith and John soon fell in love and tied the knot on July 17, 1946. Imagine a factory where car races are held on the roof. Impossible? In 1923, Fiat came up with an extraordinary solution, transforming its rooftop into a racetrack to test its cars. So, what's the story behind this incredible track, and how was it used? The famous Fiat Lingotto factory in Turin, Italy, was an engineering marvel. An oval racetrack was specially designed on the roof of the 5-story building. Cars produced in the factory were driven on the rooftop for performance testing. The track also hosted events and demonstrations, making it a symbol of innovation that placed Fiat ahead in the automotive world. How did a miner in the 1930s in Wales return home after a long day underground? Mining was the backbone of the Welsh economy, especially in the early 20th century. However, this grueling job meant a hard life not only for the laborers underground, but also for their wives waiting at home. In this photograph, a woman cleans her husband from a mountain of exhaustion and coal dust. With a basin, soap, and love, they faced these tough days together. Think technology brought the selfie craze into our lives recently? This photo takes us back to the early selfie era of the 1940s. Taken in the 1940s, this image shows a group of family members seemingly capturing a simple moment. But look closely. There's a hidden detail. The person in the back is holding a rudimentary version of what we now call a selfie stick. By extending the camera, they managed to squeeze everyone into the shot. Truly, necessity is the mother of invention. A legend buried in the dusty pages of history resurfaced after centuries. Hidden in the depths of the Mediterranean for 900 years, this Crusader sword was rediscovered by a diver in a chance encounter, reconnecting us to the past. But why and how did this sword end up there? In 2021, a diver off the coast of Israel noticed an unusual shape on the seabed. Encrusted with limestone and seashells, this 900-year-old Crusader sword was like a treasure defying time. Researchers believe it dates back to the 11th or 12th century and was lost during the Crusades. Whose hand it fell from remains a mystery. Christmas of 1983 brought a rather unusual scene to the White House. This photo was taken during the traditional White House Christmas event that year. Nancy Reagan, known for her anti-drug campaign, Just Say No, was joined by Mr. T, a supporter of the initiative. The famous star dressed as Santa Claus, handing out gifts to children at the event. Nancy Reagan playfully sat on Mr. T's lap, creating a moment that quickly became a media sensation of the era. This striking photograph captures a small performance known as Nocturne. In 1942, on the Eastern Front, Soviet soldiers found a brief moment of solace amidst the ruins of a bombed-out structure. A violinist and an accordionist played their music to lift the spirits of the troops in these harsh conditions. Imagine a factory where car races are held on the roof. Impossible? In 1923, Fiat came up with an extraordinary solution, transforming its rooftop into a racetrack to test its cars. So, what's the story behind this incredible track, and how was it used? The famous Fiat Lingotto factory in Turin, Italy, was an engineering marvel. An oval racetrack was specially designed on the roof of the 5-story building. Cars produced in the factory were driven on the rooftop for performance testing. The track also hosted events and demonstrations, making it a symbol of innovation that placed Fiat ahead in the automotive world.